All right, thank you everybody for attending our very first AI agents in the warehouse. Just so you know, we're going to be doing this once a month to keep up with AI in the warehouse. And our next one will be January 13th. But so stay tuned. But anyways, go to the next slide, Thomas. And this shows basically myself in the middle. I'm with Ascension Logistics, and then Russ Hutton. He's on our right there. He's with Ascension Logistics. We're both with Ascension. We're both Blue Yonder WMS guys. That's what we do. And then on the left there we have Thomas, and I'll let you introduce yourself, Thomas. But basically, Thomas is the main AI guy. I mean, he's definitely machine learning engineer, came from Amazon. So he knows what he's doing. That's why I teamed up with Thomas. That's why we're teamed up with Thomas. Anyways, next slide, Thomas.
All right, so everyone's here, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thomas, why don't you introduce yourself then?
Oh yeah.
yeah, briefly about me. My name is Thomas. I'm a founder of a company called Perseuss, which is a supply chain optimization software company. What we focus on is optimization of pick, pack, ship in the four walls of the warehouse. Primarily, we have some use cases for like e-commerce websites too. And yeah, was 5 years at Amazon before that. And yeah, Perseus is super honored to be partner of Ascension in tackling these complex logistics problems. And, we have some pretty cool AI success stories already. So we're very, very excited to talk about them today.
Right on.
And yeah, I'll hand it over to Al.
Thank you, Thomas. Next slide.
Sir.
All right. So I'm going to start with what are AI agents? That's part of our agenda. And but basically, the definition of a AI agent is a system that autonomously performs tasks by designing workflows with available tools. So next slide, Thomas. What I'm going to do is just explain real briefly, very briefly, because I don't want to PowerPoint you to death about how an AI agent works. In the beginning, it starts with perception. This is the input phase. The agent gathers raw information from its environment. Step number two is processing. This is the thinking phase. The agent takes the raw data from step number one and makes sense of it.
On the campaign trail for a rally-like events here in Pennsylvania. He hasn't had
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry, let me just fix that,
Okay.
Al.
All right. Number three there is called action. This is the doing phase where the agent executes the decision made in step two. And then all the way to the right is the learning phase. This is the improvement phase. This step distinguishes a true AI agent from a basic computer script, if you will. Then on the bottom, you have this arrow that goes from right to left. This is called the continuous loop. So basically, AI is not a one and done linear process. It goes, once it gets to step number four, it's learning, it goes back to step number one and learns it again. So it'll just continuously learn it and learn it. Now, I talked to a guy that, well, I won't go into a case study. I'm going to turn it over to the next slide. Because when I talk to people regarding AI in the warehouse, I have a lot of customers that are interested in AI in the warehouse. They know they got to do it sooner or later, but they don't know where to start. So what we're here is to let you know a good starting point. Basically, we have 3 case studies that have already started. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Thomas.
All right. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah,
cool. So yeah, it's a fundamental question, right? Like everyone's talking about AI every day. There's new AI news about something. AI this, AI that, but specifically when we come into the warehouse, we have a lot of problems in the warehouse. There's a lot of stuff you could do with AI in the warehouse. So the question is, what to do? If you can do so much, what to do? And where do I start? It could be overwhelming. So I'm here to tell you and to give you an idea of where to start, right? Like Perseus, is built around a specific problem that's very prone to AI application. And so, you can think of this webinar as sort of like piquing your curiosity on like if you want AI in the warehouse, you want to apply some of the latest advancement and have tangible ROI. This is one of the problems you probably already have in your warehouse, and there is a solution to it. So just a quick definition here. What I mean about cartonization, it's essentially the task of given a set of items, SKUs in the shelves of the warehouse or boxes that need to go on a pallet or whatever, just items with dimensions and weights, physical dimensions and weights that need to be placed in containers and then moved from A to B, right? In a way that minimizes costs or minimizes damage, minimizes cost, minimizes all kinds of things, right? Minimizes pick path, you name it, but just putting stuff in a container and then moving that container from A to B. That's what I call a cartonization problem. And cartonization problems are very interesting. Well, it's having worked on it for almost 3 years now, I can say it's pretty much a never-ending rabbit hole. And one of the reasons is because it's just sometimes very counterintuitive, right? So for example, when you give a person in the warehouse floor an actual a task to pack a box, right? You throw in front of him a bunch of little items that they need to put in boxes. They would tend to put everything in one box if it all fits in one box. That's something that humans feel is optimal. It feels environmentally right, right? You're minimizing the amount of carton, you're saving trees, you're such a good person, right? But often, depending on your, the contracts you have with your carriers, but often if you ship heavy stuff across the country, one big box might be significantly more expensive than two smaller boxes, right? And that's just something that is really hard for the human to like figure out on their own, especially if there's productivity on the line. You don't want people to think about what to do. Yeah, you definitely don't want the packer on the warehouse floor to think about whether or not two boxes is cheaper than one box, right? And so that and a million other reasons is why we built Perseus. And so the way the Perseus cartonization agent works is, the AI agents, right? Everyone talks about AI agents. It's super cool to have. It's super cool, and it's pretty easy to like spin out an agent that does a nice demo, right? But at Perseus, we're concerned with like actually deploying an agent and like running in a production environment, saving money, saving labor, saving something, or making something, right? On real data with real orders with real customers, right? And so for that, the Perseus agent needs to integrate with existing system, with existing WMSs, right? Like we're not trying to be a WMS. We sit as like a smart layer on top of WMS, and we integrate with most of the big ones, Blue Yonder, Manhattan, like the tier twos, DePasco, Logiwa, SnapFulfill. Some of them we have like deep partnerships with, but yeah. So we're not replacing the data layer. We're sitting on top of the WMS. On top of that, we're plugging in data about your parcel profile. We can either pull it from the WMS or you can host it in our infrastructure. Wherever you tell us to read the boxes from, we can do it. Then it's about we're trying to minimize cost. So to minimize cost, we need to know what is it that people actually charge you to move stuff, right? So if you have NSAs or specific carrier contracts, we can ingest those. We can ingest APIs. If you're working with like an aggregator, like ProShip, ShipStation, whatnot, we can work with that too. Whatever way is most convenient for you to get the shipping costs into Perseus, we're ready for that. And then also on top of that, all of this is cool. All of this is like we ingest this data, but on top of that, often we hear customers they need something special. They have a very specific way they do business. I'm sure you've never seen two warehouses that are the same. I certainly haven't, and so every time there's something special, like these specific items are fragile and they need to be packed in a very particular way with a very particular amount of bubble wrap or whatever, or like an item A and item B tend to break each other where they're together in the box, so we don't want to pack them together, even if they're ordered together and stuff like that. All of this, all of this stuff is very natural, and Perseus is ready for you guys to configure it. And once we have all of this data connected to the Perseus agent, then as orders are dropping in, they run through the agent, and the agent simulates, right? All right, let's try to let's run it through the layer of business constraints, and let's simulate, what would a one box cost? What would two boxes cost? What would three boxes cost? And in parallel, it simulates, thousands of scenarios within a second, and it selects the cheapest one or the best one. Some customers aren't driven necessarily by the shipping costs. They're driven by other metrics. So, whatever metric you want to minimize, we can configure it, and then the agent is going to be minimizing. And so that's the talk, that's the theory. I'm gonna go into some of like the stuff we've done with real customers and real packers and real orders. Before I jump into that, does anyone have any questions? Everyone's on this. Oh, question raised, hand raised. Hi.
Hey, this is Michael. Good morning. So
Hi.
I've been doing a lot of reading about this, and it's fascinating. I like this. Is there a way to configure rules? So you just mentioned the fact that some customers aren't necessarily driven by shipping costs.
Yes.
I think everybody should be, but some aren't. They just, let's get it out the door and get it to where we need to get. And I like your example here. Is there something configurable or a rule that says, you know what, we're not going to chase this unless we're looking at 8% cost saving. So if I have something, that costs $10 to ship, but I don't want to ship it if it's not greater than 8% or greater, that I can save my costs. Is there anything like that, rules or anything, or is that set on a different end?
And so you're looking from like a point of view of like not allowing a customer to check out unless if the shipping is too expensive, something like that?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So in use case number 3, we have I'll talk about it in more detail, but long story short, there's a way, the cartonization engine, you can run it in the sort of warehouse step where like people are actually packing and stuff is being moved. But you can also run the cartonization step at checkout. For example, we have a really solid integration with Shopify. So like you can run this on like Shopify carts. And then, yeah, we can, as long as you know your margins, you know your costs of good and they're configured in Perseus, like Perseus knows what's sort of like the margin after shipping cost by the time, even before the person clicks buy, right? And then, yeah, you can set rules. You can set rules like bump the price up by X because the margin of this order is too low now because of the shipping costs. Maybe the person lives in like a rural area or stuff like that. And so, yeah, we do have these like sort of like real time at the checkout cartonization use cases, and configurations like this are definitely possible.
I apologize. I didn't mean to jump ahead, but I was just asking a lot was in my mind. So thank you.
Thank you for the question. I personally prefer when to have these webinars as interactive as possible. So thank you for the question.
Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions before we jump into the customer case studies? All right. I'm gonna take silence as like move on and tell me about what actually happened. So the canonical example with which we started 2.5 years ago is cartonizations of totes, right? Which is, how about I just show you a video? Like I can, slides are cool, but nothing like a nice little video. Yeah, so this is the real system that we deployed to a customer in New Jersey. And so, yeah, so in this specific example, this is a cart, but it has a tote. In the WMS, it lives like a tote, right? But it's essentially a bunch of stuff that a person picked into a cart, and then the Perseuss solver, she has the solver running here. She has the application running here, and actually, I can show you. Yeah, this is what she actually sees in the screen is this breakdown. The solver already figured out, okay, these are the items. This is how this is, we're going to use 6 boxes. This is where the individual items are going to go. And so her job is to like grab individual items. Obviously, we love the 3D visual, right? But obviously, so her job is to pack the box. And so the solver tells her how many boxes to use and which shipping labels to put on which boxes, but it then also can guide her real time through the packing through a put-to-light system that we've also developed in-house for this specific customer. And so yeah, that's case study number 1. Mainly showing this to kind of like show that this is Perseuss is, there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of theoretical math that goes into it, but it's also, yeah, we have deployed systems that save money, improve units per hour, and it makes a happier team. And so that's case study number 1. Case study number 2 is, and this kind of goes back to the realization, right? Like once you know how to cartonize, you don't have to cartonize at the packing level. You can cartonize before you pick, right? Like since you know how you're gonna pack it, can't the picker already pack, right? And that was the question we asked ourselves a year ago, and then we partnered with a company called Lucas to actually bring this idea to reality, and that's what we did. Again, that's the theory. How about I just show you a video? So this is Brandon, a picker in a warehouse in New Jersey, also New Jersey. And New Jersey is like, the capital of warehouses on the East Coast. So there's a lot of picking and packing happening here. And so, yeah, here Brandon is working with a robot called Jennifer, which is a product of a company called Lucas Systems, right? They specialize in, also a dear partner of ours, they specialize in voice picking, right? And the way that works is, Jennifer, by the time the order gets waived and Brandon subscribes to work in the warehouse, Jennifer already queried Perseuss for, okay, what are the units of work, which items go into which boxes, and then she, using that data from Perseuss, she figures out how to actually guide the packer through the warehouse, in like an optimal path. And yeah, again, deployed system, we deployed it early 2025. The numbers also speak for themselves. Like, obviously, we have the shipping savings there, but we increased units per hour for picking, and at the same time, we eliminated most of the packing, right? Because if you look at actually, we have a nice little dashboard here where we track, out of all these boxes that are packed, which are perfect fit, which have to be like adjusted. This is what the box that the solver recommended. This is the box that the picker ended up shipping it in, and we track when it's perfect, when it's not perfect. Obviously, our goal is to get to 100% eventually. We're getting there. It always takes a little bit of time and calibration with a customer. That's where sort of the feedback loop that Al was talking about, figuring out exactly the perfect mix and configuration for the algorithm to sort of anticipate most of these mistakes before they happen and already solve them themselves. And think of it like 87% is perfect fit based directly from picking, which means 87% of boxes are essentially ready to go, and a packer doesn't have to touch them twice, right? So that's huge productivity savings here. And so that's case study number 2, and then I'll open. I have one more case study, and then I'll open the floor for questions and answers, and that's cartonization at checkout, right? So okay, so we started at cartonizing totes at the packing station. Then we realized, well, we can actually cartonize earlier in the process. We can cartonize orders immediately after they drop into the WMS. And then, following this train of thought, very naturally, you can ask yourself, hey, why don't we cartonize at the checkout, right? Why don't we cartonize directly where actually consumers make purchase decisions and try to influence purchase decisions with cartonization? And turns out that's possible too. And we have a customer also in New Jersey, because apparently everything cartonization, everything cool in cartonization happens in New Jersey. We have a customer. They're 3PL. All they do is direct to consumer fulfillment all day, every day. And the founder is an ex-Amazonian like me, and he was like, "Wouldn't it be cool if I can offer my brands this super cool feature? You know how at Amazon, when you're shopping at Amazon and Amazon tells you, hey, order within the next hour and you're gonna get it tomorrow or whatnot." He asked me, is there a way we can offer that functionality to the customers of my customers? And I thought about it, and we realized there's nothing stopping you from that, right? If you know at the cart level, which items they have in the cart, what the dimensions of the items, the shipping rates of your 3PL, you can serve it directly back to Shopify, and that's what we ended up building, right? And so now, his customers, he gets to show his brands, how he not only fulfills his orders, but also helps the brands sell more. And if we just kind of show you, so this is when they click back to checkout, we actually run through, yes, and you see it matches, whatever was on the product detail page is matches whatever, because it all runs through the same system. And yeah, so that's what we're super excited. Yeah, it became, cartonization essentially started off as this back office work to fulfill orders, and now it's actively helping 3PLs close more business, because now they're actually helping brands grow, not only fulfill. And all right, I could talk about cartonization all day, every day, but I think I'm kind of running out of time for that I've been allotted. But if you'd love to chat more about cartonization, feel free to reach me out on LinkedIn, or Al is gonna send over our contacts and everything. And yeah, thank you so much for having me, Al. Thank you so much for organizing this webinar, and I'd love to spend the rest of the hour brainstorming and discussing.
Thank you,
Okay,
Thomas.
everybody. Here's an opportunity to ask questions if you have any. Thank you for joining.
Hey, Thomas. Nader Nawari here. I can kick us off. So you mentioned that you guys integrate with a lot of the big WMS players. Do you guys have an internal team, or how does that go? Is that
Yeah.
integration from the client?
So a lot of the early integrate. So to answer the first part of the question, do we have a team? Yes, that software team that builds integrations, right? Like the way we look at it is, whenever we do a project, a lot of the stuff we already have. We're maybe like 80%. When we're starting like a cartonization project, like we're kind of like 80% already there, and then like the remaining 10 to 20% is like integrations that someone needs to build.
Right.
Maybe the customer has a dev team, so then we just give them like APIs and SDKs, and they run with it. Or maybe they don't, and then we do it, right? And some of the WMSs we already worked with and are super comfortable with. Some WMSs we may have not worked with, or we worked with them lightly. But as long as they have an open API, there's nothing stopping us from building there.
That's awesome.
So as Al mentioned at the beginning of our conversation here, Ascension Logistics is a services company that participates in the supply chain. So primarily WMS, TMS, and labor solutions. And we partner with Tomas at Perseuss for his AI experience, and we're working to integrate that into our customer solutions. So besides the work that Tomas has done, Ascension Logistics can also help you guys with, and we work cohesively together to do that integration. And there's a number of methods that can be used. Obviously the most common now is APIs, but if you don't have APIs, we have options we can explore with Tomas to do that.
So whenever they were being shown that video in that first case study demonstration, it showed. I didn't know if it was building a pallet out of the cartons.
How about let's open the video up. This one, yeah?
Oh, you're not sharing?
Am I sharing my screen or no?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh, you are.
are.
Okay. Yeah, you are.
all right. Is this the video you're referring to?
Yeah, correct.
Yes. Yeah, she's not building a pallet. We do have a pallet solver, if that's interesting to you. But it's not this video. We don't. That's a good point. I need a video of someone using the pallet solver. But
So for the
Yeah.
pallet solver, does it show them like step by step which cartons to build and then place?
yes.
Yes.
So it's if you look at, for example, here. So this is like the API response. Obviously, we have like the full geometry, and so you can kind of like click around, and it shows you one by one which item to put where. And then but we can also, like I said, we can also give this to you as an API. Ooh. And then in the API response, we give you, first of all, we give you the visualization if you want to iframe it in your application or something. But we also give you the geometry, so you can do with that whatever you want. If there's like a downstream system that needs to use the geometry that we compute. We also, yeah, I guess we could also like print like step-by-step instructions for like a loading dock or whatever. But yeah, we do have that information.
Cool. And would this take into account like item weights? I see it says pounds there, like allergen, temperature controlled, things like that.
Yes. So this is like a sort of public sandbox API that has very few of the fields that we actually have deployed for customers. Yeah. So what some of the standard constraints we have is, item to item rules. This item cannot be packed with this item, or when this item and this item are in an order, pack them together, et cetera, right? Then it's item to box or item to ship method rules, right? Like this item needs to go with this ship method, or this item cannot go with this ship method or with this box. And then for temperature control, we actually do have a specific case study with a company where they need this doc is a little bit not as nice, but I think no. This is outdated doc, but we had a case study with a cold chain company where essentially, they know that if they send 2 boxes of pizza, they need to the cartonization needs to take into consideration that there's going to be 2, dry ice packs in the box, right? And so like it was very interesting because it's like a little bit of a chicken and egg problem where like, if you put them, you need 2 packs per box, right? And so then it's like if you're able to shove everything into one box, you only need 2, but if it doesn't fit in one, you need 4 and stuff like that. And so yeah, we have a case study for that too. So temperature control is a thing we can work with, and we can work with like spatial configuration too. Like this specific item has to be standing up. So we have a customer, I think they're on the call here too, actually, who they ship like liquid stuff, like these like bottles of these juices, and they have to be standing up, right? They can't be. So you can tell the solver, this specific item has only like 2 out of the 6 possible orientations allowed and stuff like that.
So to answer the question just a little more generically too, is Ascension and Perseuss can integrate both the visual packing of it as well as also the automation of the solution, figuring out what carton to execute. And so also you can assume that a pallet build is similar to like a carton, solving a carton problem versus, and also a truck, right? So it could be a shipping container. So the AI solution could also calculate how to do it for any of those containers, not just a carton on the end of a pack station or at the beginning of a pick, if that makes sense.
So, hey, this is Michael again. Are APIs, are they almost always custom? I mean, you have different clients, customers, right?
Yeah.
So, or they're like, you know what, this client, I'll just throw a name out, Walmart, we wrote this for them. It would work great for Kellogg's or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Generally, the APIs are 90% there. Like 90. So the hardest part of the solver is the actual 3D solver that actually solves it, right? And then the specific sort of constraints that you might need that Walmart might not need, those we generally work with the customer to figure out. Like the specific tribal knowledge by how a customer packs, we've found is different from customer to customer, and it's really hard for us to guess in advance what constraints to build in natively. And so, yeah, some of the sort of standard stuff like item X cannot be packed with item Y, like that we've seen. That's pretty standard, and we have a very clear sort of configuration page for that. But we've also seen a lot of pretty random stuff. And we generally, what's the word, like account for some customization and for some custom rules whenever we do a project. If you want to find out sort of like where on the spectrum you are, like I can generate an API key that's generally how I do it. I generate an API key for a potential customer if they have developers and they play around with it. And we've had customers who just use it as it is, this public API. But often they use it and then they want something special, like this specific thing. Can I force it to like, like some hierarchical cartonization, can I force it to like put these two items into a bigger box and then cartonize that bigger box with other stuff like that? We or nesting and stuff like that. We generally tend to tackle that case by case.
Thank you.
I'm not sure. I think I saw a couple people join late, and maybe have missed the beginning of our seminar. We're pretty much into the Q&A at this point. If there's any additional questions or anything around AI or the specifics to the solution that we're presenting here, the cartonization or pallet building solution, please raise your hand or speak out. We'll be happy to answer any questions before we close out.
So we can actually put AI anywhere in a warehouse, shipping, receiving, put away, slotting, whatever you want to do, we can put AI. The reason we're demonstrating cartonization is that's the only function that we have in the warehouse right now. So we have quantity 3 case studies that we have AI agents running in the warehouse. And we're looking to get more. And I'm sure we will get more. It's just a matter of time. It's still kind of new, but the customers that I talk to are very interested in putting AI in their warehouse, but they don't know exactly how to go about it. And that's what we're here for.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see we're at about an hour here. Any other questions? Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're only about 40 minutes in. I'm looking at total timer. Sorry.
So everybody will receive an email after this presentation. That way you'll have our contact information. So feel free to reach out with any questions whatsoever, and we'll definitely respond back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hosting, guys.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody for participating today. We look forward to continuing the conversations about AI in the warehouse, and we'll have next seminars, as Al mentioned, coming up soon.
Yeah.